10 letter sound silly soup. So last week we talked about different letters you can add to your soup bowl. Again, I still have my wooden spoon here, and then I have the letters from last week. Again, last week we added the pumpkin seed. Again, the beans in there, the almonds in there. So everything that we had from last week is already in there. So last week we did letter S. We did B, B. We did D, and then we did F. We did A, ah. So that's the letters that we did last week. So again, to remind you, I said every week or every Saturday we're gonna do 6 letters, so that way we can have all 26 letters in the alphabet soup or the same letter sound soup. So however you want to do it in your classroom, you are fine. So again, I want to share with you this week. This week we have new letters. These are the letters that we have. We have C, and we have E, we have T, we have V, we have Y, and we have Z. So Z. So again, you want to tell the children what they are doing, what letter you have, what letter sounds. Every exposure is very important. Every time you get a chance to do the letter sounds, it's very important. So you want to make sure that they are exposed. Again, your 2 children will be sitting right here next to you, where they can choose whichever letter they want and the word, actually, whatever word they want, and they add it to the soup bowl. Again, this is your soup bowl. By the end of this activity, you should have the bowl full. So again, by the end, I will show you how it will look like and how much of the words that we have collected. What you do with the words later matters. So you're gonna basically create a poster where you put all the words in there. That way they know that they did this activity. So again, we're gonna collect now. Right now we're in the middle of collecting the words that have the same sounds, and then we're gonna put them in the bowl. Then later on we'll create a poster with all of them with different words. So I know it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to that, to create the poster to have all these words like a word wall. So that way it help them learn new vocabulary words, also keep up with the vocabulary words. So let's get started. So I have castle. I'm gonna do just 3 of each. Castle. So castle. So castle is here. So this is the word C. So we're gonna put it in here. So again, you tell them the sound, and they pick the letter from the pile, and then they put them in the soup bowl. I'm gonna do carrot. Find the letter, the word that said, and then they're gonna say this one here. You're gonna tell them carrot. So you're gonna put carrot in here. And the other one I just dump them later. So let's go to the other one that I have here. Let's use this one. You tell them the sound. What is this? Eh, eh, eh. And they're gonna pick up the whichever one that they have, and then they're gonna say egg, eh, eh, egg. So you just put that in your bowl. Let's use this one. What's this letter? What's this word? What's this letter here? What is this word? Eh, eh, eh. Elbow. Eh, eh, eh. Elbow. So you just ask them to say it with you. They repeat it, and then you put that in the bowl as just for your soup. And then you could go to the next letter. Again, the children will choose whichever one they feel comfortable with, whichever one they like. So this one, what is this letter? This letter make this sound. T, t, t. What do you see? T, t, t. T. T, t, T. So that's T. You put the T in there. Let's do 2 more from the T words. T, 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 t. Tall. T, t, t. All. So this is tall. So you put that in your soup. Let's do 1 more. And then we have t, 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 t. Tree. T, 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 t. Tree. So this is the word T. So put that in there. We're gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna take all these and put them in the bowl. Again, you want to make sure you have them in there so that way they can stay together. All right, the next word we have V. Let's choose this one instead. You could choose one. This letter make this sound. V, v, v. Vet. V, v. vet, V for vet. So you just take that and then you put it in there, and you could ask some questions about what is a vet? What do they do? What kind of job do they do? Who do they take care of? What kind of animal do they take care of? So that's the question you can ask also. There's a lot of conversation going on when you do this activity with them. The other word that I have is van, and van. So let's put that in there. We'll put the other one in there as well as we're moving along. And then again, your other child will be mixing the letters or the words. I mean, mix the words for you just to create the soup. So you want to make sure it's fun. They are mixing it. So as you can see, it's getting higher because we're collecting a lot of them. The next word we have is yard or letter Y. Yard. So we're gonna put that in there, and then we'll do one more from the Y words. We have yarn. Yarn. So we'll put that in there, and I'm gonna dump the rest of them. And your child is over here mixing everything, having fun for you, doing a lot. And we're gonna to choose the Z, zero, zero. So you put that in there, and then I have three left. I'm gonna put them in there first because that child over here is being very impatient because they want to make sure that they can mix things together. So again, this is the last word. We have zoom, zoom, like zoo or zebra or zoo. So zoom. So we'll put that in there. You mix it together. As you can see, it's a lot of words. So when we create that poster, it's gonna be a lot of words in that poster. So again, you want to make sure you keep that in the classroom. You can do a scavenger hunt later on. You ask them to go find the words that start with the letter, and they will be able to go in this bowl right here. Again, it stays in the classroom. That way they can go find it for you. So scavenger hunt really helps with learning. So that's all for this. So we're gonna keep adding to it. We have 2 more weeks left to add more words in there, and then I will share the result with you at the end. I will see you in the next video, friends. Bye for now. If you see the video, don't forget to subscribe. Bye.